not
your interaction
no,
with
you know, he reached out to me, so I'm more than a backflip guy, because I was like, listen, that's great. He's explosive. That doesn't mean, well, my comment was diarrhea's explosive. I don't want it every day, right?
Ah, that's great.
And you can't, but you can't say that on TV, so I'm not going to say that this time.
Yeah, just make sure you can say that.
But he reached out to me via Twitter.
Yeah, nice.
And so now we're having a conversation. I'll help him any way I can help him. But you know, it's from playing football. Ultimately, it's from the neck up.
So how many of those did you do, give or take, round off in your career? You know,
I couldn't do a somersault right now. So no, I mean that doesn't. But the kid's an explosive athlete.
Sure,
there's no question about that. That doesn't necessarily always translate. It's a great asset to have, a great skill set to have, but it's about being a great football player.
Stink feels a lot like I do. We see all these wide receivers doing flips, catching balls on the judge machine. What has it gotten them? Absolutely nothing but a waste of time. So there are better ways to show people of your athleticism. So Stink is like, I don't mind you making up videos, but there's some other ways to show how explosive. Do some box jumps. If you can get that 300 pounds up and do a backflip, do some box jumps. So
the box jumps impress you, like the old J.J. Watt videos of him.
Well, I can equate that to playing football. I can't equate this to what? I mean, how's that going to help?
I want to see him go mano with a girl from UCLA.
Let me tell you what Stink's going to do.
Do you see that video?
Stink's going to
mano.
Stink's going to pull and do a wham block and knock him for a backflip. Then ask him, how'd you land there, buddy?
let me guess, in the ear hole?
You're right in the ear hole. Yeah, absolutely.
Back to the Super Bowl now. We're talking coaches. Let's look at these two different opposing head coaches now. You got your 5-time Super Bowl champion in Bill Belichick, and you got your 32-year-old wonderkin in Sean McVay. Belichick went out of his way this week to praise the young McVay, saying he thinks he's done an outstanding job and he has a ton of respect for him. Stink, what do you make of the coaching matchup in this game?
Oh, I think there are more similarities, even though personalities are different. The way they you know, conduct a press conference, very different. But I think the thing, having played against Belichick a lot, having actually had Belichick coach me in a Pro Bowl, and then having met with Sean McVay on multiple occasions over the last couple of years, I think there are more similarities than there are differences from a coaching style standpoint. One of the things that sticks out to me, like I said, having played a game for Belichick and having competed against him a bunch, and then having met with Sean McVay, is that everything has a reason. Everything has a purpose. Every play. There's no throwaway plays. There's no, you know, in baseball, there's no waste pitches.
When you're teaching, does that help as an athlete, someone that helps explain, compared to, there are coaches who dominate you and say, I want you to go up, run 18 yards and run in. Well, why, coach?
Show me the why.
So now what you're saying is you like the way that both of them teach.
Right, exactly. I like the way they teach, because they're telling you, this is how we do this. This is why we do this. This is why we take this 6-inch step followed by this 8-inch step. This is why we place our hat here. This is why we run this route this way. And then how it stacks, how the concepts stack one upon another. Okay, now when we run it like this is how it affects our play action. This is how it affects everything. This is how the defense is going to read that and how they'll react to it. So you get into a game and everything starts to pan out exactly like you said. Remember that Thursday night game we had on Fox between Minnesota and the Rams? And I'm talking to Jared Goff, and Jared Goff says to me, everything we hit, the underneath route to Cooper Kupp that went for a long distance, the seam route.
Yes.
They played cover 4 kick, the seam route we had to Todd Gurley, where we got Anthony Barr locked up on a one-on-one. He goes, everything that Sean McVay said during the practice that week, when we get into this, we're going to run this motion, they're going to play this way, they'll kick the coverage this way, and we're going to get one-on-one Anthony Barr versus Todd Gurley. Because every time, it's the first game I've ever played in where everything that coach said came to fruition, 100%. Right. And so they do just a phenomenal job of one of the reasons that they're always in the top as far as least penalties is concerned, and why they win so many games is because their players are so locked in and they understand there's a reason for everything they're doing, and they're coached that way. So they expect success that way.
Listen, I think we at this point know how great Belichick is, and we could spend more time on Belichick. I want you to stay on McVay for a second because of something you said before we even started the segment when we were talking about this off the air, about your first meeting with him and knowing, wait, this guy's a different type of coach or a different type of person.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Like I sit and I'll go over to Mike Shanahan's house occasionally and watch film with Mike. And Mike hired him, I believe, as a tight ends coach in Washington. And so Mike sat down with him and Sean McVay in an interview. Within 30 seconds, Mike said, I knew I was going to hire him. I mean, he's that dynamic of a person. I always say there's two types.
But I also think that Mike Shanahan, because I remember the days, Mike Shanahan was Sean McVay.
Right.
Man, people talked about him. I can't believe they're giving this young guy a chance. And man, he had hot job after hot job. They were doing shows, man. He was the hot name. So to me, I'm not surprised that Coach Shanahan is the one who gets him his start.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either. And certainly I'm not surprised, having sat with him. I'm like, he's 32 years old. I sat with him and he walked out and I felt like I've accomplished nothing in my life. I'm like, this guy is so accomplished. I always say there's two types of people. It's two types of people in the world: those who energize the room when they walk into it, and those who energize the room when they walk out of it. And he walks into a room and he energizes the room, man. He is the lifeblood that courses through the veins of that organization. There's no question. The players call him the 54th guy on the roster. When you watch him at practice, man, he's coaching dudes up. He's running routes.
And he swears up and down he should be playing.
Yeah. Right.
He's got like a little swagger and a communication. He listens to rap music. And the age factor is huge. But his overall personality, that's who he is. Right. That's who Coach Shanahan saw.
Yeah, he communicates so that now they communicate differently, but they communicate well. And you know, the interesting thing, the other thing about him is, as smart as he is great a football coach as he is, he also understands what he doesn't know. And his first hire as a head coach was to go get Wade Phillips.
Who's more than double his age.
And more than double his age and been in this league forever, and goes, man, I need to lean on that guy. I know I don't know everything about being a head coach. I need that guy on my staff, on my roster. And there's nobody, by the way, that communicates any better with his players at 71, 72 years old than Wade Phillips does with his guys.
Wade has found a way to bridge the generation gap on each of the last 3 generations. He's had a generation gap for 30 years, and he continues to bridge it. But this is my concern for the other teams that are trying to find their own Sean McVay. He might be a 1 in a million personality type. A guy that you've been around a lot of coaches over the last 35 years, a lot of position coaches, coordinators, head coaches, failed head coaches, and certain guys stick with you. There are all of us have been around people that the moment they walk into a room, you're like, oh, that's why you're a star. Like, I get it. Like that, there is some special it factor about you that is indefinable, but that's why you are who you are, and that's what you described to me off the air about McVay.
I find it incredibly disrespectful to Sean McVay when you think just because you're going to hire a young guy that bumped into him and had a cup of coffee with him, that you're getting the same guy. Like this guy is, he's a personality. He's just different. And so I find it disrespectful to what he's been able to accomplish, to think that you're just going to find a young guy that coached with him and you're going to have that same effect. You're just not.
It seems like the same thing we're doing this year, which is, oh, who's the next Sean McVay? Who walked down the street and passed Sean McVay? He can run this, is what they tried to do with all of Bill Belichick's disciples. Make them head coaches because you spend time with Belichick. It must be part of the tree. You must be a worthy branch.
Yeah, there's an authenticity that you have to have, though, right? I mean, if you walk into an organization and you're little Belichick, as players, I mean, players have an innate ability to watch you and go, that dude is authentic and he's real, or that dude's just a little mini me of Belichick.
Or he's trying to be a facsimile of someone else.
Right, exactly.
So what do these two have in common then? I mean, they're so different. Everything you describe, that's not Bill Belichick.
They love football. They love teaching football at a higher level, and in their own way, how they communicate football. It's totally different. I had a good friend of mine who was on a Bill Belichick coach team. Bill Belichick was the defense coordinator. He sat next to him at every meeting. He did not speak to him all year. Now, this is a prominent NFL player, guy who played double digits, a starter on the offense, very, very well respected, always been a great leader through college and pro. Never spoke to him. Sean McVay, that's not going to happen. His communication skill is special at a different level. Bill Belichick's a lot like Nick Saban. If you walk through the hallway, he is not going to say hi to you just to be saying hi to you. He's probably looking down at the ground and he's thinking about football. If he happens to make eye contact with you, he might say hi to you, but it's just different how they communicate. I believe Sean McVay will have his team ready, and I believe that that first initial hire will get him ready for this game because he cut that roster in half. He said, I can't manage the NFL roster. I'm going to hire Wade Phillips. I'm going to cut that roster in half. And most of the issue or problem are questionable guys. They're on Wade's side.
Yeah.
So typically on the offense, he's solidified by continuity, offensive line. They played every game in 17. This year's offensive line played every game in 18.
And on the offensive line, their first major free agent was another guy older than him, been in the league longer than him, who he could lean on as well, and Andrew Whitworth. But the other thing these two guys have in common is what Stink described. I'm going to show you this in practice. We're going to drill this. Have faith in me. Do your job, use the Belichick line, and this is what the other team will do. And the moment that repeatedly happens, then I would imagine guys become so much more coachable.
Right.
Because it's like, okay,
players are into, if you make me better, I will listen to you. I don't care what form or fashion you speak to me. If you make me better at my job, you have their undivided attention.
Right. Mike Shanahan was that way. Mike Shanahan would put a game plan together and go, this is what's going to happen. This is why we're running this.
His first
this is
15 would destroy you. They're going to line up in this.
Right. I remember we're playing Green Bay in the Super Bowl, and nobody could run against Green Bay. And they used to use this exchange between their weak side linebacker and Leroy Butler. And we just said, hey, guys, this is where they get everybody. We're exchanging that as a responsibility. Leroy Butler now becomes the will linebacker when we're running away. And the will linebacker, that's the slot receivers. That's your responsibility. He's the safety. We're exchanging that. And we just started gutting them one after the other. And it happened exactly the way he said it was going to happen. He put it on the film, go, this is why we're different. This is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to work. And you line up the very first play of the game and go, oh, it's exactly like he said. And you're like, oh, we're going to get him. Got him. You know, I mean, that's exactly the way it went.
Never did I want to play tackle football doing this job more than I do when you're done with, say, every sentence. So thank you for the inspiration.
Inspirational.
Coming up, will Kyler Murray be a successful NFL